Sorry, guys, I'm laughing because I've got an alarm going off in my ears and I don't know how to stop it. Hi, everyone, and welcome aboard. Thanks for joining me for Trading Buddies on this Monday, the 24th of June. I'll get organised in just a tick. There we go. Yeah, I think we're okay. We're streaming, all good. I was just trying to stop this ridiculous noise going in my head. Stand by. Where on earth is it coming from? It's gone. Happy days. Rightio. I think we get stuck in. Let's go, shall we? And start with gold as usual. And how's gold doing? Haven't been watching gold too much. That's actually the dollar index. That's gold. I did draw a line on here this afternoon actually, just before I was come into the meeting, and saw this scenario that looks interesting to me for a buy on gold, but not necessarily saying it's going to go long. But if it did come back above the monthly pivot, there's a potential buy in there that's got a not quite a week left to actually achieve that. Then I start to look at this and I think, downtrend may have started. Anyway, we'll talk about that a bit later. The hourly chart's where we begin, of course, and we're looking for a breakout from Asia session, which begins around about here somewhere. So the low is that bar there. We'll move that line to there. The high is the last hour bar, which is there. And price is currently here. That's not too dusty, actually, by the look of it, because we do have weekly pivots kind of in the way there. Daily pivot sitting up here. If we were willing to go through the weekly pivot, our risk to reward would be $10 pretty much. $9.70, $9.80 gets us not quite the same if we were prepared to go through the weekly pivot. On the downside, the risk, of course, will be the same. The reward, we don't want to go too far about from there, is about 1 to 1. So it's not the worst by any stretch. It is Monday, of course. I'm not a massive fan of trading on Monday. But there you go. Hi, Mohammed. My volume is a little low. Is that any better? I've just moved my microphone a little bit closer to my mouth. Hopefully that is the case. Or I could speak up. Actually, problem today, and I probably sound a little bit weird. I've got a broken tooth, and it's very sharp against my tongue. Dentist appointment coming, but very difficult to talk without sounding a little bit weird. So I apologise for that. All right, let's see how this candle closes. If it were to close down near its low, it would be much better. But I'm inclined to actually take this trade. We may well do that. All right, getting very close to the end of the bar. Let's go with a buy stop at the high is 2327.43 0.15. We'll go with 2328 as our entry. 2328.00. Stop loss will be the low of the range, of course, which was that bar, I think. The low of that's the first bar. The low is here. Second bar. That might be the first bar. We'll call that the low anyway. 2317.64. We'll call that 2317. So it's actually $11 of risk. 2317.00. Take profit for the buy. we will use the daily pivot, and the level of the daily pivot is 2335. So a little bit less than 1 to 1. 2335. And that's all we need to do. We just buy stop. Yep. All right. The sell, of course, will be the opposite. So sell stop, not the sell by market. Very, very low risk on this, guys, by the way. At price 2317, was that right? Yes. 2317.00. Stop loss 2328 from memory. Yep. 2328.00. And take profit on the short. We might go between there and DS1. Oh no, that was better than 1 to 1, wasn't it? 2306 would be our take profit on the short. Now, for those of you who, of course, are not familiar with this, this is a one cancels other trade. So if one triggers, so if the long triggers, we cancel the short triggers, we cancel the long. And there's no take profits. It's just a one-on-one risk to reward. Pretty much today. Righto. So that's gold. Do I have a bias on gold? Well, yeah, I'm still biased short gold, to be fair. If I look at the weekly chart, still got that big reversal bar from last week on the monthly pivot, not for the first time this month, because we also had it in the first week of the month after double top. So you've got double top pretty much at the monthly pivot. That looks to be bearish to me. Yet, if that doesn't happen, and I have a look at the daily chart, then the likelihood of this going long at that level is probably enhanced, one would think. So, not 100% sure of directional bias, to be honest. Either way, but the big picture is telling me that we're getting lower highs and lower lows. So a breakout to the downside is possibly on, one would think. Righto, let's go and have a look and see what is about the place as far as what I'm looking at this week. A couple of things I'm looking at. Game changes are interesting. Let's have a look at a couple of those. Let me get rid of these orders. Why can't I do that? That's interesting. There's normally something down here, but there isn't. All right, we'll have to put up with those being there. I suppose at least it'll tell us when we get in the trade if we do. Aussie versus Swissy is the first of the week. The game changes this week, and it is suggesting that we buy the Aussie versus the Swissy. Don't know that I'm a massive fan of that, but in the short term, I probably am. Maybe it's best to go to the indexes to explain to you why I think what I think. Let's get rid of that. So looking at the dollar, you can see the dollar is slowly but surely winding its way back up to this trade line and maybe even this horizontal level double top scenario around about 106.5. I subscribe to that theory. Not sure it's going through there, but I subscribe to the theory that it is probably going to 106, which is not that far away, I suppose. Looking like a break and retest of this recent horizontal level at the moment. That's the daily. Sorry, I should be on the weekly. So today we're getting a little bit of a pullback. Let me just give you a closer look at that. We are at this former resistance level, and that's what we're retesting. I believe that's what we're retesting after 3 weeks of rallying on the dollar. Don't know how much it's got left in the tank, to be fair, but I do think 106 is probably within its sights. So still a little bit bullish the dollar. Aussie, Aussie's bang on resistance. Really, really tough to be bullish the Aussie at this point. Last week you saw pretty much as a result of news this doji candle, which gave us or is giving us absolutely no hint at all. Oh, sorry, that was last week. This is the week before. But we are banging our head on this resistance level, and it's very, very tough for me to think that we are going to go through it without a fight. You can see we've tried, and rejected that many, many times. So despite the fact that the Aussie has still a bullish outlook to it, in that we've got this double bottom, higher, low, I think we're going to struggle to get another higher high in the near term. Ambivalent, I would say, would be my best description of the Aussie, but preparing for a bit of a pullback. CAD, yeah, interesting. Is it going to challenge or retest the bottom of this rectangle, or are we now seeing a higher low? We haven't got much wriggle room in here, to be fair, but probably on balance, I'd be saying we're going to have a look at that trade line again before we go anywhere else. So probably a bit bullish, but again, understated bullish, the CAD. Pounds, I think it's still got to be bearish, the pound. Big rejection off that trade line, and nothing here to tell me that this is going long anytime soon. Probably looking at that 125.40 level that I have on my chart. So bearish the pound. Swissy, look, I think a little bit more pullback on the Swissy is probably on the cards, and that's where I see me buying the Swissy again. But at the moment, I think I'm still pullback time on the Swissy, but I think it's a buy ultimately. So maybe first couple of days this week, we come and retest that level. Later in the week, potentially, it becomes a buy. So hanging off on the Swissy, but still ultimately on the side of the bulls. The Kiwi, a couple of things to look at here on the Kiwi. We broke through that first trade line there a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago now, and we've maintained a level above this 60.90 for, let's call it 61. It seems reluctant to come back underneath that, but this hasn't been retested either. So I'm a little bit confused here. Also, maybe if it can break that support level at 61, then we've got a little bit more downside on the Kiwi. Other side of the coin, it could very well bounce off that. So maybe we're bouncing as a 1, 2, 3 off the horizontal level rather than the trade line. I'll probably go with that actually for now anyway, but not keen, not really keen on anything so far. Look at that yen, I think a firecracker up its backside or something, but it doesn't seem to want to. Continues to go down, but we're very near the low of this descending channel. It's extremely overbought. We all know that. I think every trader in the world's waiting for it to do something positive, and it does for a very short time, and then boom, boom, you got it. You just got smacked with the yen again. Fortunately, I didn't get into any positions last week, but I may well this week have another crack at trying to get short something against the yen. I'm not sure what that will be yet. And the euro hasn't quite got down to our support level here, which is the bottom of that triangle or pennant, whatever you want to call it. Does look to have a bit of resistance ahead that it has retested and rejected. So I'm anticipating the euro still got a little bit of downside to it. Not super confident on anything from a buying perspective. A little bit left in the dollar, maybe a little bit left in the Aussie, maybe a little bit left in the Kiwi, and maybe a little bit in the CAD. Maybe the CAD's the best of them. I'm not real sure, to be honest. I'm not 100% behind any one of them. That leaves me in a bit of a quandary. So I go back to my charts, and then I see things like Aussie Swissy, which is telling me buy, yet I've got a clear false break of this horizontal level. So we've broken it, gone above it, consolidated, come back below it, and now retested it. If prices thinking about going short again, then there's a short underneath that bar from last week. Yet I'm seeing a triple bottom, high, high, low, high, and a potentially high, low. Am I confused? You bet your little bottom dollar I'm confused. I don't know which way to go with this one. And the Swissy pairs, as I said, um, Swissy came off a little bit last week, late in the week, and I think that continues, but only for a short time, and then it becomes a buy again. So really don't know where to go with the Swissy at the moment. I think continue that pullback on the Swissy and look for opportunities, maybe in the latter part of the week. So Aussie Swissy confused, Aussie dollar also confusing because we are in a range. But if I have a closer look at that range on the daily chart, we've probably come off the top of it. Maybe looking for a lower high here on Aussie versus the dollar. But again, nothing's clear here. We are at a strong support level, to be fair. And today's candle looks as though it wants to have a little crack at these highs again. Maybe that gives us the lower high. But yeah, I'm kind of out of ideas. The charts are telling me two different stories. CAD versus the Swiss, I'm very tempted to trade this long because the weekly chart is telling me that, and it is coming off this support level. I don't like to trade strong bullish bars that close on their high, but this looks to be a buy to me. You can probably clearly see an inverted head and shoulders here. It is convoluted. It's got a couple of left shoulders. Um, in my patient self, I'm thinking, wait till we come back to here and then buy it here. In my slingshot conservative self, I'm saying I don't buy the top of bully bars, but this one looks really good. I haven't placed an order on that, and the reason I haven't is I just chose something else. But yeah, I think on the daily chart, I'm probably going to be a buyer of CAD Swiss before the week's out. Euro Swiss, we got out of last week. We got in up here somewhere. Our trading stop was around about this level, which got hit. And we're out of Euro Swiss at the moment. I'm probably keen to get back into this, but the weekly chart's telling me to buy it. Happy with that, to be honest. And if it would have come back to this level here, not engulf the third week in a row's bar of selling, I think a lower high in here gets me back into the selling machine, but not just yet. Pound versus Swissy, you can tell what happened with the Swissy last week, right? Because everything's saying buy against it. And I think, as I said, in the short term, I'm all for that. Probably this 113.70 level gets me to be a seller again. I do like these three black crows, suggesting to me that these Swissy pairs will eventually take up to the downside. Pullbacks by definition are exactly what we're looking for here. So maybe this level here, 113.70 is a sell. Maybe even monthly pivot retest, we'll see. But probably still looking to sell pound Swissy. Haven't been able to get into it yet. Kiwi Swissy, I think, is the last of them. No, there's one more to go. Same story. We've got a bull bar here. I wouldn't be trading that on two levels. One, we're at a resistance area. Two, we've got a high test followed by a low test. And the last one, yes, again against the Swissy, and is dollar versus the Swissy. And again, I think if this were to pull back to the trade line, I'd be a seller of dollar Swissy, not a buyer. As far as my favourite for the week is concerned, take all of those Swissy pairs out of the equation, but all of them are very similar. I'm looking for a pullback and a lower high on all of them. I've chosen Euro versus the Kiwi as my trade of the week. It is a sell. And what I'm seeing here is obviously coming off the top here. So I'll go back to that monthly chart. You'll probably see it a bit clearer. You see this very, very strong level through here where the level's been rejected. False break of that level, rejected again. We've tried again to sustain some buying above the 176 level, round about there somewhere, maybe even 177. It has so far failed to maintain that range, if you like, where we got into trend, but it's now gone into range. That range looks to me on the weekly chart to be under threat. And here is the breakout area of that. This is a breakout trade. Well, it's already broken, to be fair, and retested. We've got a rejection bar on that trade line. The risk here is that we are at a horizontal level of support. I'm prepared to take that on as I am this level here to get my TP1 here. So euro versus the Kiwi is the trade. And if you want to take it or follow it rather, 1.7419 is my entry level, directly underneath that bar of last week. And my stop loss is 170 pips above, which is the high of that bar last week, rounded up a little bit. And my first take profit is a little bit better than 1-to-1. So that is where I'm at. A little bit confusing on quite a few pairs. Not sure where I'm bullish and where I'm bearish. Well, I know where I'm bearish, but I'm not sure if I'm bullish too much on anything. The Kiwi seems to be a little bit better than the euro, though, so I think that's a valid scenario. G'day, my buddy Ash. How are you, mate?
Yeah, how you going, mate? All right?
Oh, look, yeah, a little bit confused at the beginning of the week because I can't find anything that I like as an absolute strong currency.
Yeah. Well, do you know,
How
mate?
about you?
I think. Well, do you know what? It's interesting, sort of, because you and I seem to agree a lot more these days about what the direction of the market's going to be, and
Well, that's a worry.
uh, yeah, yeah, and it might well be, and the fact that you've sort of said that you're a bit confused is um not mirroring what I'm thinking, because I don't feel confused, but I do feel like we are in a state of potential transition. With some of these currencies, we've seen the Swissy, the first one that you mentioned, the Aussie Swiss. I was completely down with you. You're sort of saying you wanted to go long, and I've got a few issues on it, and I think we can have a discussion about trade lines and trend lines actually, because I think it might be a useful discussion to have, because I would like to go long on the Aussie Swiss as well, and I've got a specific spot. When it comes down to the reasons behind going long, it's purely technical actually, because this week what I'm sort of seeing is that the fundamentals there's a difficult scenario going on, because what we're potentially sort of pointing to is US recession. Now that doesn't mean it's going to be imminent, but it does mean that maybe 6 months, 12 months down the track, we're looking for a potential recession, and I think that we're probably seeing it right across the board. And if we sort of think about that, that suggests Swissy. That sort of like add some fuel to the Swissy fire as one of the kind of safe haven currencies, probably the safe haven currency these days, actually.
Yes, indeed. You can't trust that other bloody thing.
No, you can't. No, you can't. It's just not turning around. The other sort of like part of that, of course, is that it depends on what central banks do to try and negate that recession. Now, it doesn't look like they've got the room to do anything just yet, because inflation is still quite peaky. But the point with that, or the message with that, is that if inflation was lower and there are recession signals kind of coming in, then the central bank can add some liquidity to the market, which is kind of a risk-on scenario, which is then able to boost something like the Aussie. But without that particular scenario, that really boosts something like the Swissy. Now, in saying that, I still think that is far enough down the track for us to still look for longs with technical sort of reasons behind it. And when I look at the Aussie Swiss, I'm with you, mate. I'm with you with the long. My problem with the Aussie Swiss is the particular price, and this is where I think we could have a discussion about trade lines and trend lines, and whether where they are in relation to actually trading the actual level. So when I look at that chart there, now I see an inverted head and shoulders, which looks really good, potentially forming, but the obvious sort of like point, now if you switch that to a 4-hour chart, what I've got is the low of that big green candle, if you like, 3 days ago, and the low of yesterday's, Friday's candle. Oh, not that one actually. Within the range we're in. Right, that's perfect. I wanted that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that trend line, and I've also got a horizontal level that goes straight across from there. Yeah, basically from there. Now that to me looks like a sweet spot to try and pick this one up. Regardless of whether it's a long or a short, the sweet spot looks to be there. Now, there's also, is there a weekly pivot there, or I think there is actually, near enough. There's a weekly pivot just below it, isn't there? You can see in the red, you've got the weekly pivot. So in and around that area looks like the buy zone to me. Now, the sort of discussion I think is worth having is that if we see a market which is looking bullish, and we're able to kind of like pick out reasons that there would be a bounce at a level, then that would look to me to be the best potential place to buy. Now, the question really then comes is, number one, do we just buy at that area? Where do we put stops? Or number two, are we looking at this on a 4-hour chart and therefore saying, there's a target there. It could still be bearish and still kind of go from the bottom to the top of that. So are we looking at a 4-hour chart and saying that's where the sweet spot is? So therefore, if we go down to a sort of a shorter term time frame and get some sort of buy signal, then we can actually aim to take the trade.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. That's kind of my range trading strategy anyway, right? So
yes,
here's absolutely the sweet spot. For me to trade that there, I'm not as ballsy as you are. I don't enter at that level. What I would then look for is this scenario. So double bottom, higher low. So if we filled that space again, and I've got a higher low off here, I've got an option to trade at that point. But more than that, I could also trade a false break of that level. So if price would have come under here,
yeah,
and maybe even hit the weekly pivot, maybe that's a nice liquidity place to grab all of these stop losses.
Yeah.
Price back up here, and then a retest. That really does look juicy. So that's,
well, I suppose
that's a nice area for me as well.
The other question is, why we draw trend lines in certain areas. What kind of dictates the trend line? Because I think that there's a discussion sort of about where trend lines should be drawn. What is a trend line, and what sort of what classifies as a trend line, and how often does because if you sort of like draw a level, let's say you've got you see that high on the 14th of January.
14th of January. You mean June?
We're in June, yeah, 14th of January. Yeah, that sort of, you see that area there. That there's a couple of green bars. You see the red comes to,
and I'll actually make a chart because I can't see a bloody thing here. Okay, now we can talk turkey. Still a 4-hour chart?
Yeah, 4-hour chart is good. Yes, perfect, mate. Perfect. So
we were on this high.
That's June. No, so we need the 14th of January. So if you go, yeah, go on the daily. That's good. Yeah.
Okay, I can find that, which is about there somewhere.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you see the high in that. So if you go up 2 bars, you get right to the high of that cluster there, because that's where it failed. Now, if you draw a trend line from that point to the next peak and extrapolate forward, perfect there. Now you see sort of like no, just the 3 peaks is enough. Yeah, just there. So that trend line there, if you were to sell, if you were to have a sell order on the 3rd week, then that would have turned exactly in that area. Now it's the same when it crashes through. It does come down a little bit. It sort of crashes through, and then it sort of like it tests the level. But again, even extrapolating forward even further, that area holds really, really well. you know. So the question really sort of like comes in, why, or I suppose not why, how to trade right on that area, right on the trend line. How, or should we trust those trend lines? You know, how do you draw a trend line where you say this is the level that I'm going to put my order in? Because that's where evidently that's where the orders are sitting. Otherwise, it wouldn't turn there.
The obvious answer, well, there is no obvious answer to that. My answer to that is most people will gauge a reliable level, if you like, as a
Yep.
horizontal level.
Yep.
That's perfectly fine. Get it, totally understand it. Yet, if there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interactions at
Yep.
the same place, so on a line that's delineated from obvious points. So once you've got 2, you've got to start, right?
Yeah.
And that will continue to produce something. It doesn't matter what it produces, as long as you can identify after it's hit that line what happens next.
Yeah.
And in my world, really only 2 things are going to happen. Forget going sideways. It's not going sideways off there too often. It's going to break it or it's going to bounce off it.
Yeah.
So all we need to do as trade line, which is my world, as trade line traders, is to identify what happens at these levels after it happens. In other words, if this gives you a high test bar sitting
Yeah.
on this trade line, chances are it's going to bounce off it. Yes, but here's the thing. If it doesn't bounce off it too far, chances are it's going to do the exact opposite. And that's where I pick these up, because I love to see these high test bars on trade lines. But I generally use trade lines going from left to right if they're going to be
Yeah.
resistant.
Well, let's do that as well then, mate. So 7th of December high.
7th of December high. Yep.
That one. And let's go to the 15th, 16th of February. High there. Look at that. Same thing happened. All right, it's a pip away, but so you might not have got filled on that order. But the point is, that is a trading area.
Always.
So the question that I'm really sort of like
That's why I
asking
call them
is,
trade lines, right?
but actually, you extrapolate that out even further. There's another one.
This one or this one?
No, same trade line, and just keep
Oh,
going.
down here. Yep.
Yeah, look at that. There's another one there, and if you stick it to the where it bounced, so where it sort of did fail, it did fail to fill the order. So just stick it up a couple of pips. There, look at that. So really, my point is that is the sweet spot. So if that is the sweet spot, is that not also the signal?
Yes, I can't argue with you at all, but I don't have the, I suppose, experience at trading those in that way. So 100% right. If that's the daily chart, and let me mark that. I mean, this is a news candle, obviously, but let's use it anyway. I'll go away. Where were we?
We were on about the there.
Right. So our trade line, where's that gone? Here is here.
Yeah.
I don't get a shot at that until here.
Yeah.
That's my only opportunity to trade that.
Yeah.
And in fact, I could trade it in 3 ways probably, but here's my setup is here. Once again, a trade line. It's either going to bounce off it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If it doesn't bounce off it too far, it's going to break it.
Yeah.
That's the world I live in. If X doesn't happen, then Y will.
Yeah. No, I get it, mate. I get it. I think
But
I think
yeah,
there's some.
if I could be you and get in here instead of here, I'm happy, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think you and I
And your point's perfectly valid
yeah.
in
So
my mind.
I think the two of us are really sort of might well be better off defining genuine trade areas. So, so I've got a screaming kid over the road, that poor mother.
Yeah.
Of Yeah, so rather than sort of like thinking about arbitrary levels, arbitrary lines, I think you and I might be sort of like quite it might be well worth testing a strategy where we are pushing back and forward where we think that the level will bounce.
Okay. Why don't we do that?
Because you love a trade line. I mean, you are
Yeah.
that's your thing, and I love it too. I love trend lines and all that sort of thing. The question is which one, that because that's always the big pointer. Are which ones, and I think we discover it as we go through, which ones are more trusted than others, because you can draw them anywhere. You could draw
Mm.
on this particular one, you could draw it from the 19th of April, and extrapolate it sort of like almost vertically, and upwards, because there are levels where it bounced there. But that's obviously a poor one. That's just not a good one to have. And I suspect that there's probably sort of a specific angle you need. But there's another one, if you go
I
from
call it 45. Actually, I
right,
did a course.
yeah,
I did my
near enough
course.
there,
When
isn't
was
it?
that? Week
If you
ago.
go from the 19th instead, so the 19th is the low.
The 19th is the low. These are all
Yeah,
the
the set. Well,
19th. Yeah.
basically where you bounce the second time, where your
Yeah.
second touches. Yeah, there, and then sort of like play around with where the lows are from that
I don't
trend
know if that's
line.
the low or not, but well, yeah, the way I do it is on a live chart, the first two tests begin the trend line or the trade line, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And until it is broken twice, and this is my rule. So this hasn't been broken twice. So that's still perfectly valid if the angle is okay. I use 45 degrees
yeah,
because 45 degrees is easy to see in my world.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, until that line's broken twice, and what I mean by that, and you guys are getting into my course here basically, but that's fine. This is a break.
Yeah.
That's not a break.
No.
That's a break
Yeah.
because we've had a close below. There's no other break until here. So that's a close above.
Yeah.
So that tells me another thing, right? That tells me something else. It tells me that that line is still perfectly valid. And now it's going to be support yet again because it's a failed breakout.
Right.
This it's extremely difficult to imagine that that is a breakout, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Trend traders will say, okay, that's a continuation of a trend, and they're right. But to me, that's failed to break and hold below that trade line, and therefore there's a buy above the retest,
Yeah.
and it works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that that's really sort of like the definition of it. I suppose my point is that that's now an untradeable level. Using
Yes.
that line as your order is an untradeable level. So then it's really sort of like working on how we then fix that. Because obviously you need to lower the level down. Maybe are we starting again with a level from around about the 24th of April instead, and looking at one more up, one more low up. Sorry, keep going to that one, and then bringing the level down so the second touch is there. Yeah.
Well, you see, I've got a rule for that as well,
Okay.
and I'll share. That's fine. Um, the rule is write this down, guys. As many pip perfect points of contact as possible. I'll say it one more time. As many pip perfect points of contact as possible without the two breaks.
Yeah.
And that makes this line perfectly valid
And look at it. I mean, it worked too. If you
It
were to
worked.
sell, God, there's two off there. There's two trades off there.
Yep, there's one here.
Three actually.
Yeah, there's one here.
Yeah. And well, there's two right in the very first bit.
Here.
The very first sort of like cluster. There's two bounces off that level.
Yeah,
The green one,
here.
yeah, 1, 2, yeah. And there's another bounce from the 30th of April. You kind of extrapolate from the 30th of April to the 2nd of May. There's another one there.
That same trade line.
No, the low. Sorry, the low. Yeah,
low.
yeah, there. Well, yeah, you could use that one. I was thinking of when it actually the red bar big explosion down. So down, come right down to the bottom of that area.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry.
Even lower. There, yeah. So there's another one. I mean, it didn't quite touch that one.
They will all become trade lines as price develops, without question. In my mind, you know. To have the rule to move to the next one is here because the line's invalidated at that point. That point being the double break.
I mean, there's no question you're going to lose a lot of trades trading this way, but the winners will be huge.
If I think when I first joined Paul, we spoke about trade lines.
Yeah.
And I was adamant that trade lines were just the best thing since sliced bread, and I still believe that's the case.
Yeah.
But we tried to work out a system whereby we could trade every test after the second test. Be that, and not knowing what it would be.
Yeah.
Whether it was going to be a bounce or a break. And we're yet to come up with that formula. So if we can work on this, then I'd be more than happy for that. And that's like 12 years ago.
I've got an idea, mate. I've got an idea. Well, let's have a meeting sort of at some point this week, so we're not coming up with something like, you know, in front of everybody, just so it gets a bit kind of scrappy. And then we'll bring some ideas and guys in the room, you know, if you've got anything to add to this, then we could probably sort of all come up with something together, because ultimately that's what we're trying to do. But Jeff and I sort of see if we can get some clarity on it. And then we'll bring it back and you know,
absolutely. If we find something worthwhile, we'll share it. Yeah.
And throw some things into the some things into him. But I have got an idea. But yeah, all right, mate. Well, let's have a little chat this week and see what we got. But I think that's well worth talking about, because the thing is, you know, the reality when people say that markets are random, in some respects, I couldn't think of a truer statement. You know, markets are really random. They do random things. They just kind of like, you know, pop around. So for that reason, for me, then, I mean, you know, I've been listening to sort of like quite a lot of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger recently. And
is he still alive, Charlie?
No, he's not.
I don't know. Is he? I don't know.
Oh, no, he's not. No, I think he died earlier this year or late last year.
Wow,
yeah, it's quite recent.
Company must have gone broke.
What Berkshire Hathaway?
On a biscuit.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, so he, so I was listening to some stuff with those two, and interestingly, I think about 4% of their picks win, and these are the best investors in the world. Four of their picks make all of the money. Not all of them win, sorry. Not only 4 win, but four of the picks make all of them. Sorry, 4% of the picks make all of the money, which tells you that, you know, that there is even with all their knowledge and their systems and the people that work with them, they still can't get a high success rate of picking huge winners every single time. So it kind of like it displays to you how random markets can be. Therefore, to my mind, the way they made their money, because they are value investors, is by finding value, not signals and, you know, all this stuff. They got their signals in the thing already, right? But it's about finding value. Now, the best value that you can possibly find when it wins is on a trend line, in my opinion, or a trade line. So it makes sense to me to find a system where you can literally trade that area and forget the rest and forget signals and everything else. You just got a bare chart and you're just looking at that.
Love it.
So, all right, mate, we'll chat.
You encourage me. You know,
Good.
encouragement from time to time. You get lazy, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. For
And
sure.
you think,
Well, let's have a chat this week,
I've
mate.
tried that before. I've tried it before, and I can't find the answer. Maybe we can find the answer. All right.
Yeah, I think we can. Gary, yes, exactly. Using the line chart instead of the candles. Exactly that, mate. You know, because the thing is, if markets are random, every single indicator has almost got the chance to be. And I was reading, is it Mark Douglas? I think it's Mark Douglas. I've reading his book about trend lines and all that sort of thing.
Whoa.
If markets are random, then and he quite rightly says in his book, every single bar is a buy signal and a sell signal. Because if it wasn't, there would not be buyers and sellers interested in every single point of the chart. The market just wouldn't move. So everything's a buy signal, everything's a sell signal. So if that's the case, then the candles don't tell us any more than just randomly buying in some respects.
What they tell us is that in the past, this particular candle pattern or series of candle patterns or series of candles lined up in a row have done this more than they have.
Yes. That's very true. Yeah, very true. Yeah. That's very true. And I guess if you want to, you know, if you're sort of like going down that route and that line, then it makes sense to if you're going down that particular route and line, you will make money out of doing things that way, as George has proved, because George is a candle pattern, you know, aficionado. So it you know, it is undoubtedly proven. I suppose my argument is that's a lot of work.
You're not scared of work. The work you do, man, on fundamentals.
Oh, well, that's true, mate. That's true. I mean, you know, the kind of fundamental sort of side of it. But, you know, I guess it's a lot more kind of philosophical in some respects. You know, looking at the candles is very defined. It's very definite. Getting down to the minutiae of that stuff, which I suppose I don't mind either. But it's just not as attractive to me as looking at kind of fundamentals and things like that.
That's where we can be a combo, you see.
Yeah, because you like the candles the most. Yeah, I agree.
I'm not sure why that's the case. I think probably because it's just so familiar to me. Sorry, I can't talk properly. I've got a broken tooth and it's really sharp and it's cutting into my tongue every time I.
Oh, mate, no worries. Yeah.
So if I sound weird, that's why.
No, you don't sound weird actually, but don't worry too much. I mean, I think we can you know pretty much wrap up, you know, the show here, unless somebody else has got anything that they want to come on and add. You know, Gary, you off mic? You can speak if you want, mate. If you've got something to add. No, same goes for anybody else. If you want to come on mic, you are welcome to come on mic, and you got anything to add. Always. I mean, we might be barking up the wrong tree, but you know, I'm interested to.
No, I don't think you're barking up the wrong tree at all. I've been, as I just said, for years trying to work out how to get a better. You know, I'm quite happy with the way I use trade lines because they make money.
Yeah.
They also leave the way I trade them a lot of money on the table.
Yeah.
And if we can improve that, well, I'd be very, very happy.
We're going to go for it, mate. All right. Well, let's have a chat. Either I don't know, whenever you're free, really, this week. Not only today is out for me, but the rest of the week is pretty good.
Yeah, it depends on when I go to the dentist, but if I can get to the dentist.
But yeah, go to the dentist.
I'll message you. We'll sort something out.
Good stuff, mate. All right, give us a WhatsApp.
I don't think I can get in tomorrow because they said I probably can't. But so tomorrow's probably a good day. We'll see.
Cool. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Guys,
all right, mate.
Well, we have been taken into the buy on gold at the moment, so that's looking particularly strong. We've got to withstand the bounce off the weekly pivot, but there's our target just under the daily, right? So that's looking okay at the moment for the gold breakout. Euro versus the Kiwi. Thoughts on that, mate? Am I barking up the wrong tree here?
So yeah, but I did look at the Euro versus the Kiwi. I think the fundamentals and the seasonals are they're really they're almost quite flat. My problem with the Euro versus the Kiwi is the monthly chart at the start of the year. So let me just see where you are. Yeah, you know, it's that horizon. There's a support level right along there, and that's my issue with it. It's got to get right through that support line to sell that one off. So that's the only reason I didn't like it. I did, you know, I like. Well, actually, interestingly, where's your target? Interestingly, I like the level. I like you know, this a trade line level, isn't it? It's a trend line level. I like that level too. Um, you know, when I looked at it, it was just purely a question of could it get through? I mean, there's, you know, looking at that on a weekly, we got a triple level there of, you know, it seems close to the lows of this
I
particular
agree.
pattern.
And I said I was prepared to take that risk.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would like a deeper pullback, to be honest, because this has gone a little bit quick. But it's following a theme: reversal, little bar, reversal, little bar, reversal, little bar. Could have been a buying bar, that one, off the trade line, but never happened. And again, going back to what I said before, in my world, if this doesn't happen, then this generally will,
yeah,
and that's where I'm at with that.
yeah,
And our old favourite, so close to trading this morning, CAD versus the Swissy, but
yeah.
I think I'm in the wrong part of the cycle again. Thoughts?
Yeah, see, I like that one as well. You know, I like that one for the inverted head and shoulders look about it, but it looks like
Mm.
that right shoulder needs some time to form.
And
But I'm with you
maybe
on
even
this one.
form another one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on the buy on this one as well. You know, I think things against the Swissy are attractive at the minute. Um, but I think longer term, you know, I think getting up to that channel line and then selling it off again is actually probably more likely. But I
That's
think
pretty much
actually
what
having
I
a
said in
bounce
my
here,
analysis. Yes.
yeah, having a bounce here, I think looks really likely. I mean, look at that bar, last week's bar, lovely
Yeah,
engulfing body. It's an absolute cracker of a buy bar, really.
absolutely. I think if I can get in on a better time frame and a better
Yeah,
reward to risk,
yeah,
I'd be
agreed.
far happier.
Agreed,
And
because
that's what.
that's problematic, isn't it? When you look at that 4 hour,
Yeah,
that is problematic. That's like the big run up with no real kind of reduction yet, and we're right on resistance on that 4 hour as well. So
yeah. So
yeah, I'm with you on the buy side of it though.
maybe something down here looks interesting if
That
I
looks
can find.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that looks good.
maybe we can find a trade line down there somewhere.
That's what we need, isn't it? That's what we need. I mean, I see something on the 11th of January. Sorry, 11th of June. 11th of June as a
Yeah, yeah.
high. Yeah, coming down. Where does that lead us? It's a bit
You're
deeper,
a
isn't
bit
it?
too
But
late.
that would.
We could use that one, but we're going to run out of time as well. We could use that one.
Ah, yes, that's good.
Still a long way to go,
Yeah,
time
still
wise.
some time to go. Yeah,
But that kind of plays into that too, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yes, it
Mm.
does. Yes, it does. That leads us out to. Yeah, I mean, I have to say the seasonals are all a little bit kind of non non-committed as well at this sort of time of year, which is, you know, summer months, isn't it? And this is not unusual to start to see the market quieten down a bit.
Well, that's the end of the week there. That's into Friday.
Oh,
So
okay,
yeah. So here we go. All right. I think we're done, right?
cool. Yeah, for sure, mate.
Um, I'll send you a message and we'll catch up hopefully tomorrow. And guys in the room, this could be interesting for you if we can come up with a nice solution that works. Like I said before, more than a dozen. That's what we're after.
Yeah, yeah. I think we'll do it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for being our trading buddies. Not a whole lot more to go on the gold trade, I hope. If you wanted to, just to be safe here, I think you could probably take your stop loss to entry. It may get hit as a bounce off the weekly pivot, but weekly pivot could drive this shorter. And don't forget,
Yeah.
I have got a bearish outlook on this as well. So
Yeah. Sensible.
yeah, get a bit safe or take some profit. Either way, happy either way. Have a great week, everyone, and I'll catch you later.
Thanks, buddy. Speak soon. Have a good week,
Thanks,
guys.
guys. Bye bye for now. See you.